Hello crafty friends, I'm Lean from Studio Kato and I am so happy to be back on the Syberia Designs YouTube channel today with this hot foiled card. I used the Gorgeous Peonies, which you can see here. This is the hot foil plate. There is also a stem set, there is a coordinating die, and there is a coordinating stencil set that I will be using. You can use all of these products separately, except for the coordinating die probably. You don't have to buy all of them. I definitely like coloring enough that I don't always purchase these layering stencils, but for something as intricate as these Gorgeous Peonies, they sure are helpful, especially because I am going to make 2 sets of these that I want to color in, and then I'm also going to add some reverse foiling as well. I will talk about that a little bit in a second. So I'm using the Glimmer foil system from Spellbinders. I am using Satin Gold hot foil, which is my favorite one. It will be linked down below along with all of the other supplies, and this is obviously the best part of foiling, just peeling away that foil and revealing your images. The first time I didn't get a perfect impression. It happens sometimes. I don't think you'll notice. Especially on the finished card, it's not as noticeable. But I want to talk about this one now. This is the solid hot foil plate from Pinkfresh Studio. And the perfect thing about this is that you can use your leftover foils or your negative images like I am doing here. So this is just what's left over from the foil once I have foiled all of these Gorgeous Peonies. And I am going to use that solid foil plate from Pinkfresh Studio to foil everything. And that means that I get the same images, but just with a white outline onto a gold background, or so it seems. And it's so stunning. I really love this, especially for a card like this, because I needed lots and lots of images and I did want some sparkle in there as well. If this solid foil plate didn't exist, I probably would have die cut some gold leaves to fit in between there, but they wouldn't have been as detailed, so it wouldn't have been as good. But this is such a game changer for hot foiling. I know it's been around for a while, but every time I use it, I am impressed. Now, another thing I'm using here is this mini ink stand that you can see on the left. This just helps me to keep my little ink cubes in place. I really love this tool. I didn't think I needed it until I had it, and now I don't craft without it. Especially with ink cubes, I think it's handy because if you have to hold on to those tiny cubes and you have to get ink on your brush, I always got more ink on my fingers. I'm not gonna lie. So this definitely helps me with keeping my fingers a little bit cleaner. Now, this stencil set is very self-explanatory. There are numbers in the upper left corner of this stencil set etched into them. You can't see them on camera, but you can clearly tell in real life. So the layering is very easy to do, and they're pretty easy to line up because the foiled image is already so detailed. So you have enough guidelines to follow and line up all of these gorgeous layering stencils. I'm using some blending brushes because that is my preferred method of ink blending, but you can use some ink blending foams as well if you want. I am also using some new Concord 9th inks, which still excite me a lot. I have had them for a little bit now, but I love the new colors, especially these greens. They're definitely some of my favorite green inks ever. For my background, I knew I was going to add a lot of images to this card, a lot of flowers, but I did want a subtle something in the background, and my favorite way to do that is just a cover die. So this is a pretty detailed but geometric design, so it works perfectly for this. This is the Tiny Crosses cover die from Syberia Designs, and I am going to just cut that from white and glue it right on top of my note card. And then the fussy part starts. And now I love this part because it makes me feel like a florist for a little bit. I can arrange all of my floral images onto my card, and for this one I decided to create a frame all the way around the card. This does take a lot of images. I still have a lot left over though, and I'm not going to throw those away. I'm probably going to make an entirely different card design with them. I don't think I have quite enough images to make another frame like this, but I love making cards like this. I just recommend you make enough images to play around with, like I did here. So I have 2 solid foiled sets of images and 2 regularly foiled and stenciled sets of images. So I have 4 sets of these flowers and leaves, and I definitely could have done with more leaves. You never have enough leaves. If you're die cutting something, always cut out more leaves than you think you'll need, and in the end you'll have used them all. Now, again, I am going to use all of these images at some point and make an entirely different card with my leftovers. I keep them in these little Petri dishes. I just got them from Amazon, and I think they're perfect for storing little die cuts like this or little leftover letters. I also use these for sentiments a lot, just for every tiny thing on my desk. I have a stack of these Petri dishes on my desk now, all with images, most from Syberia Designs. So none of these images that you make beforehand are going to go to waste. You're definitely going to use them on a card later, but it makes it so much easier to make a busy arrangement like this if you have enough images to play around with. Also, don't be afraid to cut some images up. Like there is a little leaf that has 3 leaves on it, so it's a little branch of leaves that has 3 leaves on it. I cut some of those apart to use smaller leaves in between my flowers and things like that. So alter the images as you want and as it works for your card. Don't be afraid to cut them up. It's just paper. In the end, I have a small space in the middle left over, and that's where my sentiment is going to go. I'm going to use the 4 her sentiments, and I am going to use the hot fill plate and the die set. There is also a stamp set, which also has a bunch of sub-sentiments, perfect sub-sentiments for these beautiful foiled sentiments as well. So these are for her, they're for moms and grandmas, but there are also some generic sentiments in there as well. I'm going to use the hugs here. I'm going to foil that in opaque white foil onto pink cardstock. I think this is grapefruit from Concord 9th. I'm not quite sure. I think it is. And once that's foiled, I am going to die cut that with the coordinating die as well. So you can see that opaque white foil from Spellbinders. I really love it because it's a little bit softer than heat embossing. It is not completely opaque, I want to say. It still shows up on every single color cardstock. I think it shows up on black even better, but for some reason it never appears stark white, and I really love that look. So it's a little bit softer of a contrast between the pink and this white foil than it would if I had heat embossed that sentiment onto pink cardstock. I stacked some extra layers of that sentiment behind it just to give it a little bit of extra sturdiness and stability, and then I also propped it up on some foam tape as well. I'm finishing this off with some ombre glitter drops from Pinkfresh Studio. These are green and gold, and I haven't had a chance to use these yet, but they worked perfectly for this card. It was just a tiny pop of darkness that this card needed because all of the colors were quite, I don't want to say muted, but just a little bit more on the lighter side, and there wasn't anything to really make it pop, and I think those glitter drops did a good job at that. I am really happy with how this card turned out. I love making frames like this with lots of floral images. And again, I have lots of images left over to play with later. I hope you liked the card as well. If you did, make sure to leave a thumbs up on this video, leave your thoughts in the comments below, and don't forget to subscribe to see more of my videos in the future. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope to see you next time.